Welcome back to the Crypto channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now it's happening again. Bitcoin is once again confirming this short-term bullish signal, which is now just confirmed, while the US stock market is also now once again bouncing in the immediate short term, which is good news for Bitcoin and crypto, at least for now, while Ethereum is now testing and starting to bounce from this crucial level of support, a Fibonacci level, while the price of Solana is also repeating history, just now confirming this new signal in the short term that we need to pay attention to. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto charts today, taking a quick look at the US stock market today. This is the S&P 500 index on the 1 hour time frame, and right now the price is obviously still in this larger sideways price range that we've been in for basically this entire year. The last 1 to 2 months, we've basically just been chopping around sideways between support and resistance. But of course, the shorter term moves during this sideways price range consist of both short-term bullish moves and short-term bearish moves. And so we're simply seeing the continuation of this choppy sideways price action with another short-term bounce following yesterday's short-term dump. So ultimately, still bouncing around sideways, but with this happening in the shorter term, the current bounce that we're seeing in the US stock market, obviously just in the immediate short term, that can help Bitcoin and crypto play out some sort of bounce or some sort of relief. So keep that in mind throughout the video. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today on the weekly time frame, if we're looking at the larger trend we're in, technically nothing's changed over the last 1 day. The super trend indicator still sitting in the red, and of course we're still playing out this massive bearish divergence, not yet being invalidated. So keep that in mind. Nothing changed on the larger time frames over the last 1 day for Bitcoin and crypto. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Bitcoin price chart, at least for now, if we're talking about the somewhat mid to shorter term for the price of Bitcoin, obviously we're still in this sideways price range between this support and this resistance. And so like I mentioned around 3 weeks ago now on the channel, it's very likely that over the next couple of weeks, is what I said a few weeks ago, that will remain above 60,000. This will likely be at least some sort of local low in the price, not necessarily the bottom, because I compared this low right here to what we saw back here around end of November 2025. Of course, that was a local low in the price that actually lasted for the next 1 month or so before ultimately we broke the low and continued the larger bearish trend. So remember, understand the difference between the different time frames. The larger multi-month trend is technically still bearish, but we're potentially in the somewhat short to mid-term, talking about a period of weeks, still in a bit of a relief, chopping around somewhat sideways here, kind of like what we saw throughout pretty much all of December 2025, having a bit of a break in the shorter term for a few weeks, for in fact a month in that case, during the multi-month bearish trend. And so at least for now, that is still the case on the 3-day time frame. Not a lot changed over the last 1 day, but what has just happened over the last 1 day is of course a continued dump in the short term in the price of Bitcoin below this previous low here on the 2-hour Bitcoin price chart. But while the price has made a lower low, which has been confirmed, we're also just now starting to confirm a higher low in place in the 2-hour Bitcoin RSI, which is indeed a bullish divergence. And if we're simply taking a look at the last couple of times, we confirmed a short-term bullish divergence here on the 2-hour Bitcoin price chart. Obviously, in both of these cases here, we saw some sort of relief, either a decent bounce or just a slight little bullish relief. But usually what follows a bullish divergence on the 2-hour time frame is either just a slight bullish relief like this, or some choppy sideways price action, or most likely a bit of a combo between the two, a combination of the two, chopping around but slightly in the bullish direction is extremely likely here. As always, no guarantees, but that is the most likely outcome based on this bullish divergence over the next couple of days or so, considering we're talking about the 2-hour time frame here. This is not a long-term signal, just talking about the next couple of days. And of course, if that continues to play out as expected in the short term over the next couple of days, then of course that means the price is remaining in this sideways price range here on the 3-day time frame for a little longer, which could continue to be the case potentially over the next 1 or 2 weeks or so. Remember, we're potentially in a similar situation right now on the 3-day time frame to what we saw near the end of 2025. And as for support and resistance, we have a lot of support at close to 63,000, which is very close to where we just bounced from. As we can see, give or take 63,000, that is a level of support to watch out for. And below that, we have more support at pretty much exactly $60,000. And of course, we have massive resistance up here in between around 71 to 72,000. But before that area, I'd also expect expect short-term resistance at around 68,500 and some more short-term resistance at give or take 66,000. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, we can see that over the last few days, obviously with that short-term bearish movement over the last few days, we simply wiped out some downside liquidity, which I talked about in my last video. But now that that's happened, we don't really have a lot of liquidity that's at least immediately to the downside below the price of Bitcoin. Obviously, we have a small amount here, but not much. In fact, we still have that massive level of liquidity building towards the upside at around 68.8K, give or take. So in between around 68,500 to 69,000, that's a major price target to watch out for the price of Bitcoin based on the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. But obviously between the current price and that higher level of liquidity up here, once again, we have a bit of resistance along the way that we cannot ignore, where the price could potentially start to struggle at or even see another rejection from. So overall, that's my exact prediction in the shorter term. And of course, the slight midterm, if you want to call it that, talking about the next few weeks, not really changed. And of course, the larger multi-month trend not changed over the last 1 day. So those are my exact predictions now and the key levels to watch out for moving forward. And of course, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any crypto, you need to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And if you use the first link below this video in the description and in the pinned comment, that first link below this video will take you to this page right here over on the 2bit crypto exchange, which by the way is a no KYC exchange and is an exchange that I personally use myself from time to time. And of course, simply making an account using that link below the video, once again, you can take advantage of up to 800,000 USD worth of prizes here just by simply trading crypto over on 2bit using that link below the video. So obviously, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway or preparing to take the next trading opportunity, you might as well check this out and take advantage of potentially some major prizes here from trading crypto using that first link below the video. And remember, 2bit is also a no KYC exchange. But with that being said, taking a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance chart on the daily time frame, and right now obviously we're seeing a slight little bearish move in the short term, but for the most part we're still kind of just bouncing around relatively sideways here on the daily time frame for the Bitcoin dominance, which means a lot of the altcoin market on average will likely still be performing very similar to whatever Bitcoin does, which of course means if Bitcoin plays out this bullish divergence with a slight little relief in the shorter term, not necessarily a lot of bullish momentum, just a slight little relief in the short term, expect something similar to that for a lot of the altcoins is basically what this Bitcoin dominance is telling us right now. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, it's a very similar situation for Ethereum on the 3-day chart compared to Bitcoin on the 3-day chart. Obviously, the price action here looks almost identical. So obviously, we're still trying to play out this oversold signal that confirmed a few weeks ago, around 2 to 3 weeks ago now at this previous local low, which means the price will still likely somewhat chop around sideways, basically consolidate sideways, potentially still holding above that local low, at least for now over the next few days or possibly weeks. But remember, this is all talking about the shorter term price action, kind of like what we saw just here, just a shorter term relief during the much larger multi-month bearish trend. So that's still the case on the 3-day Ethereum price chart. And if we're taking a look at the daily Ethereum price chart, of course, we are now testing a key Fibonacci level acting as important support for the price. And that's sitting at around 1.8K, just above 1.8K actually. So around 1810 to 1820 acting as key support to watch out for. And right now, obviously, at least so far, we are continuing to hold that level as support. But if the price of ETH actually confirms a break below 1.8K with candle closes on the daily time frame below 1.8K, and especially if we fail to get back above that level, in that situation, the next massive support towards the downside is in between around 1.5K to 1.6K. So keep that in mind. But obviously, at least for now, once again, we're still holding that 1.8K level as key support to watch out for. And if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at the 4-hour Ethereum price chart, obviously, as I mentioned over the last couple of days, first of all, 2 days ago, 2 videos ago now, I talked about this bearish price structure, a descending triangle pattern, talking about how it's very likely, the most likely outcome from this structure is a break towards the downside. And then obviously, after I said that right here, that's exactly what we saw, the break towards the downside. And then of course, as I said in my last video, it's now being confirmed with the break towards the downside and then actually a rejection, flipping previous support into new resistance, which is another bearish confirmation signal. But as I also mentioned over the last couple of days, even though we have this technical price target, which is now in play sitting at just above 1.7K, around 1730 to 1740, which is technically still in play as of recording this video. But even though that price target is there on the price chart, obviously we cannot ignore other points of support where the price could possibly bounce from. And of course, that is now happening at give or take 1.8K. We're starting to bounce from pretty much exactly 1.8K. In fact, slightly above that level, exactly at this Fibonacci level of support. And of course, at the same time as this happening, we're also starting to form and already starting to confirm now a new bullish divergence on the 4-hour Ethereum price chart, with lower lows in the price, slight higher lows in the RSI now starting to confirm, which obviously following the Bitcoin bullish divergence in the shorter term can potentially help Ethereum with just a slight little relief, especially because it's also running into and bouncing from that major support at just above 1.8k. And on top of that short-term bullish divergence on the 4-hour time frame, we also have a larger but a weak bullish divergence on the 8-hour Ethereum price chart, because we now have pretty much horizontal lows confirmed in the price in the candle closes, while confirming higher lows and starting to form and play out higher lows in the 8-hour Ethereum RSI. But of course, a typical bullish divergence is lower lows in the price, higher lows in the RSI. That's the strongest form of a bullish divergence, but this is still a form of a bullish divergence. It's just a weaker form of a bullish divergence. But considering the fact that we have this at the same time as the price forming and confirming a new bullish divergence on the 4-hour time frame, at the same time as running into and starting to hold above this crucial level of support here at give or take 1.8k, it is quite likely, especially if Bitcoin continues a slight little relief in the shorter term, it is quite likely that Ethereum will see some sort of relief, either some choppy sideways price action or a slight bullish move. I don't necessarily expect a huge high momentum movement towards the upside, but just a slight little relief is quite likely now in the shorter term in the coming hours or days. And if we're taking a look at XRP on the weekly time frame, not much has changed over the last one day. We still have this massive bearish divergence to watch out for, which is technically still active, as I've warned about pretty much every day since all the way back up here. But of course, we're also now running into this massive area of support here, sitting in between around $1.30 to $1.40. So we're still testing that level of support as I recorded in this video. And like I've explained in recent videos here on the channel, if the price of XRP actually confirms a break below around $1.30, and especially if we fail to get back above that level, in that situation, we'll very likely see a move down towards around $1.13, and below that level, the next massive support is in between 90 cents to $1. But obviously right now we're still holding that $1.30 to $1.40 area as support, but not in the clear yet if we're talking about the long-term trend here. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day XRP price chart, obviously we're still trying to play out this oversold signal that confirmed a few weeks ago, around 2 to 3 weeks ago now. And so like I've been saying every day since then, we're likely going to see either just a slight little bullish relief or most likely some choppy sideways price action for a few weeks or so. And obviously it's been around 2 to 3 weeks now of this perfectly playing out as predicted, but this could possibly continue to play out a little longer, especially if Bitcoin, for example, and other major altcoins play out a slight little relief. Obviously, it's very likely that XRP will likely follow very similar price action in the shorter term as to what Bitcoin and other major altcoins are doing. And so overall, those are still my predictions. Not a lot changed over the last one day. And if we're taking a look at Solana on the 3-day time frame, obviously the longer term multi-month trend is technically still bearish. We've not yet confirmed any strong reversal out of this trend, but at least for now, we're still holding this crucial area of support here, sitting in between around $75 to $80. We're also still trying to play out this oversold signal. In fact, just over the last few days, we actually slightly re-entered into oversold territories in the 3-day Solana RSI. And so this means that technically speaking, we still should have a little more room still to go to actually see some sort of choppy sideways price action, basically a little bit of a pause from all of this extreme bearish price action here, but not necessarily the end or the reversal out of the larger bearish trends. So kind of like what we saw, especially around end of 2025, we're potentially in a similar situation right now on the price chart for the price of Solana. But if we're zooming further into the short term, taking a look at just the 2-hour time frame, this is looking at very short-term moves here. Obviously, we've just now, following Bitcoin, we've just now started to confirm a new bullish divergence on the 2-hour Solana price chart, with lower lows confirmed in the price in the candle closes and higher lows now starting to confirm, with one confirmation so far starting to confirm in the 2-hour Solana RSI. And once again, if we're simply taking a look at the last couple of times we confirmed a bullish divergence on the 2-hour Solana price chart, we usually see some sort of bullish move. Of course, in this case, it was a decent bullish move over the next few days, but it's not always that. Sometimes we just see a slight bullish move, sometimes even just a bit of a sideways consolidation. But usually this means the sellers are going getting exhausted, and we're likely going to see some sort of relief from all of the bearish price action, most likely for a couple of days or so, considering this is only on the 2-hour time frame. And as for resistance to watch out for, obviously we have some previous support and also resistance here to watch out for, which is sitting at give or take $80. And as for massive resistance on the 3-day time frame, that's still sitting in between around $95 to $105 if the price actually makes it back up there. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the 3-day time frame, it's basically the same story here. So I'll keep this quick. Multi-month trend, still bearish, still holding this area of support in the short term in between $7.90 to $8.50, and also still trying to play out this oversold signal in the 3-day Chainlink RSI, which means most likely a bit more of a sideways consolidation holding this as support, but not in the clear yet if we're talking about the multi-month trend. So it is still possible we could ultimately at some stage see a continuation of that trend at some stage later on, but not necessarily right now, especially now that Chainlink here on the 2-hour time frame is also following Bitcoin, Solana, etc. with this short-term bullish divergence. Lower lows confirmed in the price in the candle closes, and higher lows now starting to confirm with one confirmation signal so far, higher lows confirming in the 2-hour Chainlink RSI. And so once again, as I've been saying throughout the video, this means we're most likely going to see either some sort of slight bullish relief or some choppy sideways price action. I want to make it clear, it does not necessarily mean a huge high momentum movement towards the upside. That isn't necessarily the case here. It just means that sellers are getting exhausted, so we're likely going to see some sort of break, a little relief from all of the bearish price action, most likely over the next 1 or 2 days, considering this is only on the 2-hour time frame. But obviously, when it comes to a lot of these altcoins, like I always say, pay attention to Bitcoin, what Bitcoin is doing here, and also pay attention to the US stock market. If, for example, the US stock market dumps all the way back down here towards these lows, it's likely we'll see something similar for the crypto market. So keep that in mind. But at least for now, based on the current situation, what is currently confirmed, those are my predictions and expectations just in the shorter term. And of course, the larger time frames not really changed at all over the last 1 day. And if you want to trade any of these moves, remember, check out the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to take advantage of massive bonuses only available using those links to certain exchanges. And if you want to actually know how you can trade these moves, no matter what direction the price goes, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen, because the video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.